Hello again, it's Pastor Alan Hughes from Word of Faith Christian Centre here in Gebergen. Now there's a great story in Mark chapter 10 where Jesus heals a blind man called Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus is actually shouting at Jesus, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy upon me." And upon hearing this, Jesus tells them, go and bring him here. So they call Bartimaeus, and in verse 50 of that chapter, it says that Bartimaeus stood up and threw his coat aside. Now at that stage, no conversation has taken place between Jesus and Bartimaeus. But Bartimaeus has thrown his coat aside, and this is something that Jesus has to respond to. And so the story goes that Jesus eventually says to Bartimaeus, "Your faith has healed you." And instantly he saw, and he began to follow Jesus. Now why did Jesus have to respond to Bartimaeus throwing aside his coat? Well, in Jesus' time, you had to have a license to beg, and they would give you a thing called a tallit, which was like a prayer shawl, which would have a particular color on it if you were blind. So when Bartimaeus stands up and throws his coat aside, he's actually throwing down his license to beg, his means of living. And he did that before he got to Jesus. And that's faith. Could you do that? Could I do that? And this is what the story's about. It's about those critical moments in all of our lives where we have to make a hard decision to cast off our old identity in favor of a new one. It's also a story about how kingdom people respond to Jesus. This is a story of how kingdom people say, "I want what Jesus has for me, and I want it so badly that I'm willing to lay down whatever to get something new and something better." This is what kingdom people look like. Kingdom people who say things like, the things of the past, well, they're going to fade away. And all things are going to become new for me, and I'm making the decision to enter into it. So this is not just a story about a blind beggar throwing aside his coat to get to Jesus. This is a story about people like you and me, and about our lives when we're willing enough to leave behind the former things and press on towards something that's better and newer. Every one of us has a coat to throw aside, so maybe it's time to throw away yours today, because holding on to it can keep you blind and you can't see the next step on your journey with Jesus. It might be that as you're listening to me now, you know that you're struggling to see God's plan for your life. And it could be because you're holding on to something. Now, it may be that God doesn't actually want you to release it, but He wants to see that you're willing to release it. That's what kingdom people look like. Someone who is willing to throw aside their coat to see what God has for them next. Hope you've been encouraged by that, and if you have, please drop a like on the video or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. May God bless you. Enjoy your day further. Bye for now.